Regarding the government's planning bill, I believe this is a very extensive piece of legislation, hundreds of pages to it, and you were objecting to the fact that some of the debate was guillotined. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, we're waiting for planning guidelines and planning reform for 20 years. We're promised that this is a huge piece of work and it is, but it was delayed, in committee, and they gave extensive coverage and debate, and rightly so. Then it comes back into the dawn, and the minister must have put in 200 amendments. There was 780 amendments altogether, and we only got 250 of them, or less than 300 debated in the dawn last week. It was guillotine. Imagine a piece of legislation that's so much research, so much input, so much time, and then not even to guillotine it. This government are really, the arrogance is mind-blowing, and to think that they do that with such an important bill. Many of their own amendments even weren't debated, guillotined after a short number of hours debate, and it's a too serious a situation. It has massive ramifications, it will have, going forward for all kinds of planning, big and small, rural development and everything else, and the fact that the government would consider a guillotine and forcing a guillotine and voting it through the door at second stage last week.
What are your general thoughts on the contents of the bill? Because one of my pieces of information that I saw from looking at it was that they're giving a special input to NGOs, environmental NGOs like An Taisce, into the planning permission process, and some of these organisations are very controversial, even among government circles, where we had Fine Gael ministers, former ministers, saying that some of these organisations are the leading threat to rural Ireland because they are constantly lodging complaints about this planning project and so on. So there was a concern there. What are your kind of general thoughts on the content of this very wide-ranging piece of legislation?
My observations are the same as they are about many aspects of government, that the NGOs have captured the government 100%. They're costing almost $6 billion a year. There's tens of thousands of them out there, but these ones like An Taisce and many other NGOs are just a nuisance now, an irritant. They've outlived their usefulness, and they are a huge impediment to development. I saw with An Taisce, and indeed I raised it in the Dáil floor a number of times with An Taisce Micheál Martin, where they held up a factory, a dairy factory, processing plant in Kilkenny, had gone through all the hoops, gone through the EPA licenses, you name it, everything, extensive planning applications, and was granted. And the An Taisce brought it 3 times through the courts and threatened to bring it again. But the Taoiseach in the Dáil, in frustration, said to me that that An Taisce had overreached in this situation, and they'd have to really examine their role. And now to think that some months later they're giving him a pivotal position, and other NGOs like him inside in this planning process, it's outrageous. I mean, the lunatics are running the asylum. To do this, to allow these people to have that kind of control, they're just blanket objecting to farming projects and farming and all different issues like that in the countryside, once-off rural houses. It's a case of the well-heeled. There are many, very well-heeled people in An Taisce. They have fine big houses in the countryside, even down in Killanoo and Ballina. They're hanging into the lake, a number of them, and very picturesque sites. And now they object to anybody else local getting a roof over their head. It's shocking that they would be proposed in this bill, and it'll probably happen, that they get extra powers. It's just outrageous.
I suppose there must be some positives from the bill. I mean, when you've got hundreds of pages of legislation, I can't imagine it's all bad. Is there anything redeeming in what the government is proposing here?
No, because we didn't get time to tease them all out. As I said, I'm not on the Housing Committee, which dealt with that piece of legislation. There was great hope, yeah, but the problem is we have now built, we've put in the Office of the Planning Regulator, we've the National Planning Framework. Those two bodies and items were never there in the past. County councils, and they all elected last week, and I wish them all well, including my own daughter, Maureen. And, they're grappling with a county development plan, but then they can't deal with it at county management level. The OPA, the Office of Planning Regulator, OPR, can overrule it in any aspect of it. And the National Planning Framework must fit into those guidelines. So this bill will prove to be maybe waste, because they have give them too much power, too much say, taken away from the elected representatives. They had a limited role anyway, but that's been diminished now, and all these bodies and institutions are making it much more difficult and onerous. And in actual fact, I see people, public representatives and councils, will give up the ghost and won't even stand because the powers have been diminished so greatly. So There might be good aspects in the bill, and there are in every piece of work. But when the government guillotined, before we debated up to 400 different amendments, we couldn't even have a proper debate and proper question and answer. So, I mean, we didn't get time to pick the good apples out of the bad ones.
What would be your suggestion for how Ireland's planning permission system should be reformed or improved in order to try and fix the housing crisis?
Well, we've seen how the impact it has on the housing crisis. It's not fit for purpose, it hasn't been. But Bord Pleanála then, the overseeing body, today ran into huge disrepute in the last number of years. There's a reconstituted board now, and there's smaller numbers, I'm told, looking at plannings all the time. So, I don't know, it's not. We needed a more in-depth and broad I suppose a total new institution, and instead of a Bord Pleanála, a new start, because it got tainted, has been tainted, and we saw many shenanigans that went on. So from the ordinary small person that wants to build a house in the countryside or in the town to the big massive developments, it's fraught with difficulty. There is more room in the new legislation, less room in the new legislation for people to object. In a ways, maybe that's only fair, but still you have to balance that right with people to object to serious issues, but we see all the time where the big wind turbines and the big projects going straight to Bord Pleanála have totally bypassed the county councils, and that's not a good thing. Solar farms, everything else. So look, the final proof will be in the pudding, will be in the eating. So we will know that the whole full bill is passed without proper scrutiny or debate.